Hi, this is David Jenkins, La Plata Town Council member from Ward 4 and the host of this La Plata Ward 4 video update about La Plata Town Council meetings, activities, and related issues. These videos complement my podcast entitled La Plata Ward 4 Update, which in this video is different in that it provides additional information about development projects and related planning issues affecting our community by using different visuals and screenshots. This video about fiscal impact examples is a follow-up to two previous podcasts, one in January 2023 about the Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance, APFO, which was discussed by the Planning Commission at their January meeting, and then a follow-up meeting in February of this year, APFO, the need for fiscal impact analysis. This is a follow-up to those two podcasts, and this is about how other communities use fiscal impact analysis to make informed decisions about land use, infrastructure, and fiscal sustainability for existing and future residents. The source of this information is a series of presentations by an engineering planning consulting firm in Texas based upon their work in a number of Texas towns and cities. Please note that this is not an endorsement of that particular firm, but just a different way to view fiscal impact analysis and why I believe it is needed. While these towns in Texas is not La Plata, I believe they do provide examples and how they could be maybe applied to La Plata. Both examples were part of these particular towns and their comprehensive plan update. So every city and town, just like La Plata, strives to be fiscally solvent, environmentally sensitive, and resilient. But sometimes there have been past decisions that compromise and sometimes lead to different issues and problems. So at times, certain communities are left with fragile economies and a growing affordability issue with respect to how do we fund infrastructure now and in the future, and to serve our existing and future residents. The particular issue for La Plata, as well as other communities, is how do we maintain our infrastructure after growth occurs? Specifically, the town operates and maintains roads, water, sewer, stormwater management, parks, and provides police and trash services. Now, once a development happens and the town accepts those facilities, how do we maintain them? I'm not sure we know what that answer is. So, in a theoretical situation, how certain communities bridge the gap when there's a funding issue, they either increase taxes or fees, the stark reality of perhaps reducing services, and I'm not suggesting this, I'm just saying these are different options that are out there. And or item number three on the slide is we could perhaps do a better job of looking how development, or we can analyze what's the best development that pays for itself in the long term. So these towns in Texas have developed a certain process that hopefully will lead to fiscal sustainability in how they analyze and make decisions regarding infrastructure and land use. So specifically, they use a land use fiscal analysis to make informed decisions. Now, this is a screenshot from a community in Texas, Brownsville, Texas. Now, it's a rather large city of about 200,000, and they went through a process and hired this firm to develop a baseline fiscal analysis and provide some policy recommendations as part of their August 2019 update to their comprehensive plan, and specifically to demonstrate or talk about fiscal sustainability, and it's important to the community well-being, and provide insights on how to use current data and analysis to make good decisions. It's important, and I'll read this from their report. Fiscal sustainability is a common language that can be used to bring people and perspectives together and help city leaders frame discussions, inform decisions, and communicate with residents. The fiscal analysis included in this report is the tool that helps city leaders and citizens better understand the reality of current practices and evaluate alternative methods designed to grow revenues, reduce costs, and to have balanced budgets over the long term. So this particular slide shows a new way of looking at data and fiscal sustainability, specifically using a metric called property tax per assessed value, or per tax levy per acre, not just strictly the assessed value. So it's probably hard to read, but there'll be a later slide that shows how they do this. They look at, for instance, let me go to the next slide. So they look at different lot sizes, and this is how they calculate it. So for instance, for a 3,000 single-family residential lot, that equates to about 0.069 acre. The appraised value, according to those records, is $205,000. So to determine the property tax revenue, they take the levy, that is the assessed value per $100 of assessed valuation, and they divide it by the size of this lot, in this case 0.69 acres, to come up with a revenue per acre. And you can see how that varies dependent upon the lot size. The next slide, they use this basic data, the property tax revenue per acre for existing properties in this particular community. Then they develop a net per acre by applying current budget. So they have a map that provides all the costs minus current operating budget funded by the property tax. And then finally, step 3, you get a determination if there's a deficit or what there are, or their unfunded costs, and what you really need in order to maintain infrastructure and financial stability. And you can see this over a number of years. This next slide is an example from another community. It's in a town called Bastrop, B-A-S-T-R-O-P, Bastrop, Texas. That's a community of about 10,400. That's about the size of La Plata. And they did this analysis as part of their, again, their updating of their comprehensive plan, looking out from 2016 to 2036. And let me quote from this particular chart, or this from that report. Quote, many communities are developing standardized fiscal impact analysis tools to weigh the cost versus the benefit of annexing property. This figure they refer to, figure 2.8, is an example of a fiscal analysis tool and highlights one simple method by which potential expenditures versus revenue may be measured when considering annexation or other development proposals, particularly when a full-service annexation will obligate the extension of city services within a constrained time frame. Many variations of this model may be used by other communities and cities. This is very interesting, as they specifically mention annexations, and perhaps this kind of tool could be used for La Plata, and I suspect, my opinion would be this would have been very handy as part of our review of annexation proposals that have come before the town council within the last 18 months. So again, this is another tool and another example. Let's go to this next slide where I just wanted to perhaps give you a basis or the need for why I believe a fiscal impact analysis is clearly needed and supported by the town's 2020 comprehensive plan. Specifically, in goal number 4 in the town comprehensive plan, it says La Plata will expand its boundaries when and where there's a clear net economic and or environmental benefit to doing so, and only when supported by adequate public facilities. But then you have to read further and look at the action items under that particular goal. The obvious one action is require that all new growth areas are connected to water and sewer service and provide or support adequate multimodal transportation capacity. But here's a real important action item, I believe. Support annexation of existing residential and commercial properties when there's a clear plan and identified funding for water and sewer connections and capacity. I've underlined that important point in action item number 2. When there's a clear plan and identified funding for water and sewer connections and capacity. I think that's really, really important. And again, well, I believe fiscal impact analysis should be part of our process, whether in an APFO or part of the development review process. This next slide, again, continues an additional importance and why I believe fiscal impact analysis is needed. If you read further in the comprehensive 2020 Town Comprehensive Plan, other than just reading the goals and action items, it's important to read beyond that and look at other narrative and text within the plan, specifically the municipal growth element on page 31 of the comprehensive plan. And unfortunately, let me read this to you. Quote, "The town's tax base is largely residential, which raises questions about the town's ability to provide the expected level of municipal services as residential growth occurs. A growing body of empirical evidence shows that while commercial and industrial development can indeed improve the fiscal well-being of a local government, residential development worsens it." And here again, I've underscored this next passage. While residential development brings with it new tax and fee revenue, it also brings demand for local government services, which often exceeds the revenue generated by the new houses. Ensuring that municipal growth yields diverse land uses will be a critical evaluation point when considering potential growth areas. In my mind, or in my opinion, that's a clear signal that we need to have some sort of a fiscal analysis process when we not only look at annexations, but also other development projects as part of a normal review process. This next slide, again, another what I believe is important in supporting this, having a fiscal impact analysis part of the town process, is within the town's recently adopted 2022 strategic plan. Specifically, this one goal, good governance. We will serve, quote, "We will serve as responsible stewards of community trust in making decisions to maximize public service value to our residents." And this is important. Manage all assets as a responsible fiduciary. Ensure funds are available for providing quality services in an equitable manner, and our infrastructure is maintained now and in the future by prioritizing long-term financial sustainability over short-term tasks. And we do this in our town annual budget process, our fiscal year. And as part of that, we have a 5-year CIP, capital improvement plan, and financial forecasting. But I believe another element can be added, and that is, again, fiscal impact analysis. The strategic plan goes on further to say, in another goal, public service readiness. Plan and develop the systems and infrastructure needed to meet growing demand while supporting the health, safety, and wellness of residents and natural resources. Using the town's guiding documents to plan and provide for current, that's important, current and future infrastructure needs. Plan upgrades and enhancements to the town infrastructure to ensure that growth and development can be accommodated. And again, it reinforces the need to annually review and update our capital improvements plan, our CIP, measure capital projects for return on investment, ROI, where applicable, and to track the status and progress of these projections. So, in closing, and another reason for a fiscal impact analysis is that shouldn't the town know its return on investment, ROI, of the taxes we pay for services? Again, it is clearly stated in our 2022 Town Strategic Plan. Again, from my perspective as one council member, this is needed to fully understand the cost of development to existing and future town residents. There's a recent publication entitled Rationale for Smart Growth Fiscal Impact Analysis and Model Fiscal Impact Assessment Ordinance, which provides additional background and information and a process to do this. and also a model fiscal impact ordinance. I'll provide a link in the notes from this publication as well as others. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. And again, as one council member and one opinion, I believe there is a need for fiscal impact analysis, not only in hopefully our new adequate public facilities ordinance, but as part of a normal development review process by the town and its planning commission. So thanks again for watching this episode and this video. I welcome any comments, suggestions, so please email me at djenkins@townoflaplata.org. Thanks again.